everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Eden Mabon of LightCycleAstrology.com. Today, friends, we are getting into an aspect that is forming in the sky right around Thursday this week, and that's going to be the new Aquarian sun that makes a trine to Mars. So the sun is applying to Mars right around January the 26th. Let's go ahead and pull up the real-time clock and get a look at the aspect before we get into the meaning and the astrology of it. So let me just go back to the 26th here. So it's about a 7-day transit that we see, where by January the 26th, right around 8 a.m. or so, the sun moves into that trine with Mars and then takes a few days to perfect, where they both get into the same degree. The day of the perfection is going to be January the 29th, right around Sunday at about, let's say 8 a.m. as well. And then we move to pretty much Thursday of the following week, February the 2nd, before the sun moves out of that 3-degree range of separation to Mars. So it's about a week that we feel this aspect in the sky. Okay, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of the meaning here. So what's really important about this aspect that we see that is beginning on Thursday here, this trine, is that the way that I sort of look at it, it seems to represent the place at which there's a gateway or a threshold for the recovery or the greater empowerment of Mars that has recently gone through his retrograde and is now starting to make that recovery. But it takes a while. It doesn't happen all at once. Mars first has to station and then begin to move forward again. And it takes a couple of months for Mars to get up to speed. So in astrology, we also want to remember that the speed of a planet is also important to understand what it signifies. Does it have its full strength to bring about its own natural significations? So when I was kind of looking at the chart, it seemed to me that there were 4 distinct phases where we see Mars making these milestones of recovery. Stage 1 is going to be Mars changing into direct motion, obviously. And then stage 2 is really when the sun ingresses into the sign of Aquarius, which it did last Sunday. So happy birthday, Aquarians out there. But this is important because now there is a planet that has some kind of aspectual connection to Mars from a whole sign standpoint, where there were a lot of planets before in Capricorn. Capricorn does not see the sign of Gemini. So there is kind of a things not on the same page because that's a blind spot. So now we begin to see planets move into Aquarius and gain whole sign reception to where Mars is positioned in the sign of Gemini. So now the sun has this trine aspect between the air elements. It's really, really nice. So that is going to be sort of the level up of empowerment from Mars coming out of this retrograde and making a recovery. The second one, as I see it. And then the third one is going to be when Mercury also moves into the sign of Aquarius. And this is really important because Mercury is the host of Mars in Gemini. So when Mercury finally makes it into Aquarius, that's really where we see a big improvement for Mars power. And the other thing that is really important is that eventually the speed of Mars will get up to its full daily speed of travel, which is going to be right around 0.5 degree a day. And that takes place right around April the 1st. So right now, as this aspect is coming into form on Thursday, Mars is going only about 1/3 of its top speed, traveling about 10 arc minutes per day. So that is getting us up to speed for Mars. Now, why is this also important for Jupiter in Aries? Because Mars is the dispositor of Jupiter. So it seems like there's a buddy system at work here where things are working together to sort of bring things anew into the future. Okay, now the other thing is the actual astrological meaning. So let's get into that a little bit. Now the sun applies to Mars by a degree-based trine. Typically thought of as trines are thought of as a good aspect, or they're said to be of the nature of Jupiter in ancient astrology practice. Degree-based aspects that are applying means something is going to be gained or given. It's a sign of an oracular promise about something very specific that is going to happen. However, if the sun makes an aspect from a sign that is in poor dignity, this could diminish some of the positivity that the aspect may bring about. So when we think about the sun making this trine to Mars, the sun it's not in the best of dignity. It's not in the worst of dignity. It's not in Libra in its fall, but it is in the sign of its contrariety, which means that there may be a little bit of a difficult thing coming through. And so the sun may hurl difficult or interesting things towards Mars and say, what are you going to do with this, Mars? Overall, it's a benefic aspect because it's a trine, but sometimes you don't always want support from the rebel, right? It's like Che Guevara coming to you with like a grenade and saying we got to go bust out the captives. Well, sure, okay, but it's not exactly like it could be a little bit dicey, I could say. So let's get into the themes now. Actually, before we do that, I want to share with you rather Ren Butler's The Archetypal Universe, which is a great book. So this is a great book because it goes through and it combines all of the archetypal natures of each planet. It doesn't specifically say this is what it is, if it's a trine or a square. It really just goes into the core archetypes of each planetary energy and delineates them out and combines them together. So it's a great resource to have. But one thing I wanted to read with you, let me just go ahead and throw on my glasses here. So one thing I wanted to read is the Sun-Mars section in here. So Sun-Mars, principles, impulsive towards dynamic action and assertion, yang, boldness and courage, physical confidence and strength, centrifugal force. I really like that one. Sort of an Eastern take on a kind of energy, a description of energy where things tend to energize from the center out. So this centrifugal force, which is said to be a yang kind of energy in the East. A fierce and hot-headed persona, a rough and insensitive nature, a contentious and competitive spirit, obnoxious directness, extroverted machismo. Okay, characteristics and themes, urges towards yang, boldness and courage, dynamic action and assertion, physical confidence and strength, bravery and prowess, straight-ahead directedness, a stout heart, fighting spirit, honest sweat, something attempted, something done, rugged individualism, an affinity for sports, energetic activity with males, sexual passion and virility, shadow qualities for this combination of the Sun and Mars, a rough and insensitive nature, a contentious and competitive spirit, a sporting approach to life, extroverted machismo, a fierce and hot-headed persona, loud and vexatious behavior, coarse and obnoxious manners, disharmonious and insistent self-expression, self-centered directness, goading, audacity, rash and impatient actions. So I think that's really interesting, just giving you the archetypal qualities of this combination of planets together. Now, one thing that Ren does is he also does a combination of 3 planets together, which is really amazing because almost nobody does that at all. And even though this isn't going to give us like the sun in Aquarius, Aquarius is a Saturn-ruled sign, and the sun is in the superior position. So the sun is going to be the one dominating the exchange of information or energy to Mars. So I think it's also interesting. We could go through here and read the Sun, Mars, and combine it with the Saturn part of this book, which is focused yang energies, tempered strength and determination. That a little bit of that Mars-like quality coming in and tempering it, making it a little bit more sturdy or solid or strong or longer lasting. A capacity for difficult and demanding work. That's one that I really see as a big theme for this, for sure. Active forbearance during conflict, an overly sharp or militant persona, harsh boundary collisions. I think that is another good one. Harsh boundary collisions, feelings of stress and overworked. I think that is also likely. And this last one is a little bit interesting. Introjected pressure of the birth canal leading to self-punishing behavior. Very interesting things from Ren Butler. So let's get into the 4 themes to watch for, given that the sun is in Aquarius specifically and in that superior position to Mars, which means that the sun is really going to be the one that dominates the exchange here. One theme that I could see is theme number 1 is an idea or visionary aim that gives energy and motivation. You know, Aquarius is a very visionary, idealistic, or idea-centric sign where it's an air sign. It's also a sign that has a stabilizing quality of it, where we now move into the solid section in the winter season between the Capricorn and Pisces months. And this is going to stabilize that turn of winter that we had in Capricorn. So in Aquarius, we get the wintertime season becoming stable now. Now, the light is steadily increasing every day and heading towards spring. So Aquarius is a sign that steadily looks ahead towards the future, but it also is squarely in the middle of winter, and it remembers the past. So there's this whole dichotomy with the past and the future. But I think that there is this concept where Aquarius can look ahead and have some ideal or idealism, and is often associated with visionary types of futuristic notions or ideas or concepts. So I think that theme 1 could very well be there's this futuristic or idealistic aim that gives some kind of empowerment to Mars. You know, it begins to speed Mars up and get Mars moving a little bit down the road, giving Mars that energy. You know, it's a good idea, and Mars is like, yeah, let's do that. Let's try that. You know, making Mars go back into action mode, so to speak. Okay, theme number 2 that I'm seeing is an unchanging or possibly a divisive viewpoint that gives arguments, words that cut, or the changing of minds. This is a little bit more of a shadowy one, where we could see that contrarianism that we see often in Aquarius, because Aquarius is a Saturn-ruled sign, and Saturn is the god that sits between the factions and sort of sees all of the different sides and likes to play the populist at times. So you could see this sort of stabilizing, rigid Saturn saying, this is my viewpoint. This is exactly what we should do. I have the best idea. Don't try to change my mind. I'm set in my ways. And sort of dominating that exchange of energy over to Mars. And maybe Mars brings in an element where there is Mars in Gemini, denoting things that may cut in mental or idealistic, or even just through arguments or words. You know, Mars is a planet that cuts and severs at times. So we could see a little bit of that. Hopefully not, but that is potentially some of the shadow side of this. And maybe just the changing of minds, where somebody's being rigid, and that causes an exchange where there is a person that needs to cut away and change their mind on an issue. These are both mental air signs, so we could see a lot of mental activity with this. Okay, the third theme that I am seeing for this is the knowledge to affect workarounds. Again, Saturn is where the sun is traveling through, a domicile of Saturn, and so we could see that ingenious quality that Saturn sometimes provides, and especially the sun usually is a planet associated with the gnosis, or with the bright knowledge of illumination. So is something becoming illuminated that has that genius quality and provides some kind of workaround, where it could be anything even simple, where you're trying to build something. Like me, for instance, I've been building all sorts of things at home, getting ready for for our new baby that my wife is getting ready to give birth to in a couple of months. And so I've been building furniture and all this stuff. And, you know, it's not always easy. Building stuff is frustrating, but it's almost like that moment where you stand back and something is defeating you, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, I see. If I do this and do that here and try that, there's this breakthrough or workaround that maybe could come through for you on this. So that could be the theme for theme 3, could be something like, you know, a breakthrough that gives you the ability to do a different course of action, or affect a course of action in kind of an ingenious way all of a sudden. Okay, theme number 4 is an authoritative situation or person that requires extra work that leads to benefits. Yeah, so bringing in that quality of Saturn, providing the hard work, the hard things, the sun going through Aquarius may speak to things that are not easy. They're not going to be a piece of cake. You're going to really have to get dirty and get your hands going and working and sweating, working out, whatever it is. Something very difficult and hard is being represented by the sun in Saturn's sign. But it's as if that, for one, you'll probably have the energy to do it because it's a contact to Mars, and it's a good aspect with that trine. And that aspect itself, the signification of the trine being said to be of the nature of Jupiter, might mean that if you can punch through the work and get the work done, that it's definitely probably going to lead to something that benefits you in the long run. So it's one of those things where it might be easier to do the hard work, and even if it's not, it's probably going to lead to something better than it was before down the road. So you just have to grin and, kind of muddle through it, as it were. Okay, guys, so that is my 4 themes to watch for with this aspect that is coming in on Thursday. Please leave your comments in the comment section below, what you think that this energy could represent in your life. I'm toying with the idea of maybe going through and doing the 12 rising sign horoscopes for these 2 houses, Aquarius and Gemini, just because this is an energy that is going to be intensifying as the weeks go on here and Mars builds up some speed. So that might be interesting to take a look and see, where does this specifically land in your birth chart, what houses are being activated by this transit and is going to intensify later on. So that might be something that we could get into. So let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'll be back again real soon with another astrology video. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you later.